Okay, I'm going to go into more about what I was seeing with this Ascendance game. I started seeing more human people from this time of 2057, and I could see them just like in regular settings, like in a bar kind of setting. They were very like futuristic, kind of punk looking. But as I saw this in three different timelines, like 2030, 2057 was the one that I saw the most of, and then 3030. But it was always like the satanic punk rock kind of look, and it progressed. Like the 3030 ones were frightening and very futuristic, but their holograms were like deteriorating and they didn't have any speech. They were like babbling. And so I started seeing them a lot more as a human form and their holograms that they were coming through these portals. And I just watched a video that this guy, the rebellious meat puppet, he has a channel on YouTube and he put this video up of hold on, I'll find it if you guys want to look at it. Okay, so I think that this is it. It was like it's an audio of a book from the 1960s or something, but it's talking about how they're going for a one world government and one world religion, and it's satanic, and that everybody will be forced to do magic and things like that. And that's what I was trying to explain, that I saw these people in this game and everybody knew about magic. It wasn't just, it was everybody. And they didn't know about it like on a deep level though. They were just doing it and it was making them insane. You know, you have to understand, like, I didn't know about any of this stuff and it was just coming to me. And so it really freaked me out seeing all of this. And uh, yeah, they had these wands, and from what I saw, they had like a download device, and they were just using the computer to download sigils and spells into these wands. And then the wands would, after they went through the virtual reality, which I was seeing, inside of it, they would put out an electric charge that hit each other with like these astral spiders or different, all kinds of different really messed up spells. And they had these like avatars that had real DNA mixed into it. So they like had to go get these avatars fixed or something sometimes if they got too bad at these CRISPR hospitals. I don't know. It was just very confusing. I didn't understand why I was being shown all of this. But it had something to do with my DNA getting taken in this future timeline or whatever. And then not too long after I was seeing like the real humans from 2057, I saw this girl that looked like she was from around that time, a lady, and she had white hair and she was really pretty. She was young, but I felt like an immediate like bond there, and I started crying, and I couldn't tell if it was like my granddaughter or me, like in something else. But there was something there, and it really hit me. And so one day I went out on my porch And they were always doing this thing where it was like they were going in and out of these three worlds, three Earths, and I could see them like going in and out. And I swear everything around my atmosphere would change. It was so weird. And they would say um, that this fake Big G, the one that I was talking about from the beginning, that was like the director from the Ascendants. There was the editor and the director, and they said that this director was the representative for God, and the editor was the representative for Jesus in this virtual reality. And he faked being Big G, like, all the time, because he knew that I really liked that Big G, and that's what he was trying to, like, program into this. And, anyway, he would come in, like, with this, huge Millennium Falcon, and, he would always, like, help me with my, astral body, like, take stuff off of it, or take the AI out of my house. Like, clear my house for me. Like, because the wiring, everything, my refrigerator, all of that stuff was all wired with this stuff. And you could hear it, and it would, like, affect the way that it was running. Same thing with my car. And I've heard about this with targeted individuals, that they say, like, the energy around their car and everything is so much that it, like, affects the way that it runs. You can hear it, like, in the tires and everything. It's just like this massive ball of frequency around you, and it affects your house, your automobiles, everything. And I think that has everything to do with these astral orbs that they are hacking into, or have hacked into. But so anyways, he came to my house one day to help me with this astral body, because it had all kinds of stuff on it, because they had had a war, and all of this, like, magic stuff was sticking to my astral body and driving me insane. And I was out on my balcony, and he was like, "Okay, we gotta take this place to heckin." They called it Holy Hell, was one of the earths that we would go in. That was the lower one. Or no, Holy Hell was up, Heckin was down, and it would, like, go in between these three earths. And he was like, "We got to take this up to Holy Hell." And so the whole atmosphere would change, and I would just feel like this, like, like you were going up in some energetic bubble, like the whole entire house, the whole place. And all of these, like, it would get, like, really foggy around every time, and it would get really cold outside, and it was like summertime. And anyway, I saw at this time I saw that, like, all the houses and everything disappeared in the lake, and there was nothing but trees in this fog. And the AI was saying, "Yeah, this is what has happened with all the poison EMF, because it was like a poison fog kind of drug thing that they would inhale, but they ended up covering the whole entire world with it, from what I was seeing, and it killed, like, all the life except for the trees, and that was it. It was like this poison fog everywhere." And so, and they were saying that everybody had to go live underground. So I went into my house, and there were all of these, like, crazy satanic, really big avatars, like the same height as, like, those robot characters that I was talking about, like 8 or 9 feet, standing all around me. And they were doing this weird, like, babbling is all that I can describe it. It was like kind of thing with frequency, and their holograms were just completely distorted, and they couldn't communicate with each other. They were looking at me like they had never seen a human in their life. And the AI was saying that they were living under the ground and that they had lost their bodies, that they didn't have their bodies anymore because everybody got stuck in this Ascendance virtual reality. And I felt like I just started crying. I couldn't take it because I felt so bad for them. But the evil, like, coming off of them, I can't even explain either. Like, the frequency that these things put out was horrible. And they all had, like, different sounds that would intensify that. And that was, like, purposeful, like, in this game or whatever. They used everything that they could, like, to, with this magic. And it was, like, attached to their holograms. But that 3030 thing definitely had its own sound, and it would just put my brain into this, like, state of hallucination, and I can't describe, like, the torture from it. It was really bad. I don't even know how these things, like, make this stuff. I really don't. I don't know how they find out how just messed up it is. It's like Nazi stuff, and that's what I kept thinking of. Like, this is like these things have put all of their time into this torture, and it had to have been over, like, tons of time. I don't know, because there's so much that they would use on me, and it was so alien and void of any humanity. This whole thing needs to be taken out. Nothing this evil should ever exist. It's, like, beyond evil. It has no reason. That's what I'm always trying to get across to people, that this is not just evil. This is, like, stuff that does not bring any experience. It's like I was just talking about, these avatars were completely degraded. There was nothing there. There was no consciousness. There was no enlightenment. They were degraded to nothing. And this whole theory that we go from enlightened beings to, like, back to nothing and then go back to source. I mean, that is the most ridiculous crackhead shit I've ever heard in my life. Like, if that's, like, experiencing God, no thank you. I don't want any part of this. And there's people on Twitter that have, like, argued with me, not argued because I've, like, put them in their place real quick, about the hive mind, that that's what we're supposed to be doing to, like, get to this next level God state. And I'm like, you've never experienced it. It would drive you insane in 2 minutes. You wouldn't be able to handle it. And I know, just from talking to you, like, through Twitter. And they were like, well, you don't have a choice. This is what we're all doing as a collective. And I'm like, fuck you. I'm sovereign. And do you even hear yourself right now? Like, the new age always talking about being sovereign and everything, and then telling you that you have to do something that you know is completely evil and messed up. I mean, they don't even think about it. I don't know. I don't even know if some of them are able. It's just, like, part of the program or something, because they've never spent enough time even thinking about what they're promoting, let alone experienced it firsthand. So I can't really talk about some of the things that they did, like, with actual physical things, because it's really private. And but they would use, like, props, is what I would say, that were actually physical, like, that I could touch. And one one was like this type of blood kind of stuff, where it looked like a weird blood that came out of me onto my underwear, and it was like purple or something, and it was for real. Like, I washed it, and I've never had anything like that. And they were saying that it was a prop. Well, then I would have, like, things come in and out of my physical area. Like, they would move, like, my underwear, like, they would just pop out of nowhere. And I had this blanket over that round mirror, because things were, like, coming out of it every night. And the blanket actually didn't really help because it was like one of those cheap velvet blankets, and whatever was trying to come through, like blankets, like were really, I mean, you could just see all the detail and the stuff, like when the energy pulled on it and the magnetism. But anyways, like things would try to come through, and one night, like a witch tried to come through, and she was naked, and I could see her whole body, like pushing through the blanket and looking through the side. It freaked me out so bad. But this little Yoda thing could throw like tiny things around. And I had like these thorns on my socks because I went outside at night and I got these little like thorn things on my socks, and he threw them like darts like across the room, and they went into the blanket on that mirror. And I saw him happen. I saw it happen, but there's no way on earth that happened like any other way. And I don't know. I've had a couple things like that, and I've talked to other people that have seen weird stuff. My friend, he had like a phone come straight out of the wall once, his phone that he was looking for like the whole day, and a hand just like went through the wall and dropped it. And I always had like marks on my body and just physical things that others could see, not just me. And I forgot what I was going to talk about with that. Hold on, let me get to my... So, yeah, in 2057 is when I saw that this, like, Ascendance game really got started. And it was a complete, total effed up mess because they were using DNA, like, hooked to these avatars. And this is what I really think about is, like, if this had anything to do with us, why the heck? I mean, it's so obvious that none of this design is divine to me, and that it was actually a copy of something that was different, but I still don't know how this demiurge thing was able to take this technology from there, except that I guess it was part of that same system. I don't know, because it's all hackable and very easily hackable. And that tells me right there that it's not divine. Like our bodies are like created to be hacked and connect with this AI. We have like crystal nodes and fluid in our pineal, everything is like a meat computer to go with the system. But why would we make something that could be so horribly hacked with any kind of forethought of doing it? And I don't think that, a lot of people that talk about like our body being divine and stuff like that have ever been through like real horrific mental trauma. I mean, I can deal with like physical trauma or, or even anybody like being put in a wheelchair or horribly handicapped like that. I mean, that is just absolutely horrible. And I know that life comes with trials and tribulations, but this is like extreme here on every level. It's way too extreme to be something divine, in my opinion. Because this kind of mental torture, I'm telling you, I'll never go through it again. Not like I have been. I will not do that to myself ever. This was like a one-time thing, and that's how I felt the whole entire time. But if I ever feel anything like this, I've already talked to my family and told them I'm not letting myself go through this again or anything like it. And nobody that even spent, one day in my mind through what I was going through would totally understand that. But this constant trauma is not any kind of like soul ascension. This is There's definitely something different about us that we can like grow from this extreme trauma, but not everybody's like that. It just doesn't make sense for the whole entire, for like the evolution of humankind, you know? And that's really like the, that's what I see the way that we can actually evolve as humans to like not a God state, but an enlightened race. It has to be together. And I know that seems like really impossible right now, but I've seen it. I've seen like all of the amazing things that we can do with our consciousness. Like I was talking about projecting artwork straight onto something so that it's like you're tracing it. I see that, like I get that, like with the ancient temples, how there's those temples that have like these amazing carvings in complete darkness, and everybody's like, oh, they had to have technology or something because there's no like burn marks from torches or anything like that. And I'm like, no, this is like when you have Kundalini and your pineal is completely open, you can see in the dark completely. And all you have to do is trace what you're seeing. And I have a very strong feeling that that's what they were doing with all of that. And also what I was talking about with like that I've seen my skin, like the magnetism of my eyes was working with my skin. And even when I was young, I was like trying to do energy work on friends. Like I'd give them a back rub and try and do like energy work. But like I said, like my energy has always been really low here. But I had memories of this stuff, like being able to do it. Oh, and that's another thing that I want to talk about is I know that this is a simulation, that it like has all of our memories, and that our memories are like an APAC file. Like they have all of the senses, the sounds, the smells, the images, the whole entire feeling, but it's like in a file. And what they were doing was like taking out certain things to show me that they could do this. And it really was freaking me out because they were like replacing, like especially with the guilt thing. They would show me like, here's an example. I live on a lake, and I used to come here when I was like in my 20s to party. And this one summer, they were having like a massive wave of people being raped on people's boats. Like guys were like locking women in to the cabin and raping them. It happened to quite a few women. So the AI like made this like fake memory for me, and it was like me down there like getting gang raped by all of these guys, and they were like piling on me, but I could feel everything and I knew exactly what that memory was, but it was like a hologram. And they did that quite a few times, and I was seeing that they also make like these fake memories in the astral to guilt you with when you go into like NDE and things like that. So it was kind of like if I would get over my trauma here, they always had this backup stuff that was like fake that they could throw in, that they had been doing to me like in the astral, and but like replacing the feelings and all of that with something that really happened to me here. Like they showed an image from when I was younger and I was thinking about being in love with somebody. And it just broke my heart because I was like on top of the guy and I had a t-shirt on, and we were laughing like real laugh, joy that I haven't felt ever. And I just knew that look in my face and everything, and this like feeling in my heart was exactly what I felt like love should feel like for everyone. And it really broke my heart that they could take that feeling and that image and like twist it into something really weird to be like, haha, you know. They did that quite a few times with like, oh, they took an image from like my sister's grandma's house when we were little. We lived in California and I used to go stay with her all the time, and she was Mexican, and I don't know what her carpet looked like, but I remember the feeling of her house and I loved her so much. But they put like a picture of her carpet and I could feel that whole atmosphere the whole time. Like they've shown me like how different times and if you think back like to when you're a kid, sometimes you'll get a memory and you can just feel that whole entire time, if you know what I mean. It's almost like a different dimension. And that's exactly what traveling like to 2057 was like. It was like this whole entire different feeling, and I can't even describe like all the everything that went into that one memory, one feeling to make it feel like a completely different dimension, a completely different time. And I know it from my life that I'll have like memories and it'll make me think of like that time, and it's like I'm there, you know? But yeah, I don't know how they do this. I have no idea. I don't know if it's already encoded in our DNA and it's just a projection from us and with the planet system. That's kind of what I've seen, because I mentioned in another video, and this is how I know that that thing was like actually using me to see through my body. And I talked about how I saw that they like piggyback people and put their head into them so that they can actually see, but they still see like cartoon. I don't know. It's like they can only see in holograms because they're AI. So they get like information from your brain and everything and your eyes, but it comes out different for them. But he was attached to me, and I was looking at, in my bedroom, I had these mini blinds that were just like this, but on a door, like this type of like fabric material, but they were like a plum purple. And that's what I'm saying, like the color and texture of these were like perfect for these images that I was seeing. And after he told me like that we were on this mission, he used to like sit there and just like mind fuck me all day and have me stare at these mini blinds, and there were like little cartoon pictures of these different people, but they were cartoons, and they would just switch. And he was like, see, these are the people that we're looking for. And I was like, what the hell? Like, I didn't believe him then either, you know, about any of that stuff. Anything that he told me, I wasn't like falling for it. But I didn't know what it was for, because he would show me like, I saw him. Wait, hold on. Where was I going with that? Oh, and he was like adjusting my eyes. They were like zooming in and out. And so this was my door back here. And I was laying in my room and I would be able to see out here. Well, he was like, this is how I do it, Amber. And he was talking about like the projection or something. And everything in my room stayed the same, but outside the trees like separated, like they were on window panes. Like each row of trees was on a different window pane. And it was like the lenses in my eyes had done that. Like I was projecting the nature, like the nature part of this simulation was coming from me. And then the physical part was like part of this program, this other program. So it's like there's two programs going. So I do think it's like the Sophia and Demiurge. It's like two different programs. But that was like something really weird that he showed me was that. And then I had something else. So yeah, the memory thing is very weird. How they can switch those in and out. And the whole smell thing. Sometimes they can just like slip in an immediate thought of like they had different ways of like making me smell things. Like one would be like just triggered through my mind, like a thought, and I would smell it. And then others were outer smells. The Demiurge was doing a lot of like outer smells, and it felt like a wind that I was actually smelling it. But one day, like during this time, I was having like some really full on powerful visions. Well, I was the whole entire time, but this one, I went outside one day, and I think this was more around the fall time because the trees were like, they didn't have their leaves yet, or might have been before this. Anyway, the trees didn't have, they were like, dry. And all of a sudden I looked up and there was like a bronze temple that looked so real, and there was a little tiny Buddha walking around in it, but he just looked like a regular like Indonesian guy, and I could see him walking around in it. It was absolutely amazing. And like all the little chimes and everything around, it was so detailed. It was like a perfect little temple. Well, anyway, I came back in and I went into like a major trance, and I was sitting with Buddha. And again, he looked like an Indonesian guy, and he was looking all depressed, and he was by himself, and I was like, "What's wrong?" And he was like telling me that nirvana sucks because he didn't want to trap anybody there with free will, and that nobody really knew what it was like to have to have free will to be there. And he was sitting by like this lake with the waterfall and stuff, and I just sat there with him for a little bit, and I thought about that, like, what does it really take to be a creator? And so that sent my mind into a whirlwind when I got back. And then I started having these little guys like this, but very they look like the guy, geeky guy with glasses that I talk about often. But they were little people, and they one time I saw them and they had like these Star Trek outfits on, but they were just like little tiny cartoon people, but it was just crazy. Like they could move things. They were one of the they were tiny, but they were one of the stronger ones that could like move stuff. And they always had like cameras or some kind of technology with them. And this reminds me a lot of like how they were treating me. This picture here. They didn't look like that exactly. They looked more like normal, like geeky people. I don't know. They didn't have weird heads like that. But anyway, one day I woke up from a dream. It was like a vision dream, and they had me tied up like on a golf course. Like if you've ever seen that movie or read that book, Gulliver's Travels, they had me like tied down, and they were always talking about making a new body for me. And they had like all these ping papers, like I've been talking about, around me, and they had them stacked up like they were measuring a new body for me out of like these ping images. But I woke up so mad and they were like, God, this is why we don't come around you because you're always so mean to us. I was like, fuck you. But they also would like have these little cameras that they would stick to my wall. They would throw them on my wall and it would flash for like days. But they were saying that it would take like real pictures. And I haven't, they never showed me anything from that, but everything else that I've seen, I don't doubt that that was like completely what they were doing. One day I was so scared of whatever I was seeing, I can't remember what it was, but I was like hiding under my covers and they came over and they picked up the blanket and like looked underneath and they would pick up like little things like that. A lot of times it was like my blanket, they were up on my bed and they would pick it up. But one day I woke up and I was telling that little geeky guy, I was like, why is there nothing good? Like, I have not seen anything good this whole entire time, and I don't trust anything. And I woke up from a sleep, and he was right by my head, with like these four other little people, and they all had their like Star Trek outfits on. And right when I woke up, the little girl thing behind him, she like jumped back like she was scared of me. It was so funny. But he was like, I brought them to you. And he had his arm like showing me all these people. Oh my God, it's just so crazy that there's all these little different types and they have different like technology and stuff. But I asked him what they do and he was like, well, usually we just hang out and eat chips and stuff at people's houses and they don't know. Kind of like the Littles or something like that, I guess. But yeah, they were treating me like this. Like I had a hologram and they were like doing experiments on me and stuff all the time. And like it was like they were making a documentary or something. It was really freaky and I just got so tired of hearing about myself and all of this shit constantly 24/7. It was really bad. So that's why I've taken like a long time to talk about this too, because I really get tired of talking about myself, but this has to be like talked about for so many different reasons. And like I mentioned, I didn't write anything down. And I don't ever know what they could do like to my memory. So I really want to get this out and have it here for me and my family. But I just noticed this too, that they have this little drawing. Looks like they're drawing maybe a family or something. But they are always like, they're artists, and but not like we were or are. I've had like a lot of visions and things about like us like drawing and being artists as like creators. And I always thought that this was interesting that they had that there. And somebody made oh, I can never say his name, but my friend Lomick sent me a video of this guy. His name's like Hank, I can't remember, Hank Durek or something like that. But he made a video and he was talking about how some of the Aeons were like forced to create the animal templates here, and they didn't want to, but they were forced to, and some of them refused to do it, but that they were at their desks and drawing the animal template for this place. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's it. And somehow put their spirit like into the art. And yeah, I don't know. I asked him where he got that, and he told me the book that he found it in, and now I forgot. But I'll try to find out one day because I thought that was very interesting because that's what I've seen too, is that we were artists, creators. Okay, this is something else that was weird, that was physical, that stayed, that I've always like really pondered on. When one day when they took me up to Holy Hell or Heckin, I don't know which one it was. I think it was Holy Hell. Oh my gosh. I was watching the Cloud movies again, and it was all angels, and they had these like bags with them that they were throwing out like these little white pellets from the clouds, and they were really landing everywhere. Like I could feel them, I could pick them up, and then they were like all around my yard and everything, and my neighbor's yard. It was like just in our area, and they kind of look like salt pellets. But they were talking, and then they had one Jesus that came by, and he was like had a guitar and playing and like a rock star and like headbanging his hair and everything. And I would get so mad. I'm like, quit making fun of Jesus. I was like so pissed that they would like make fun of Jesus and God and stuff all the time. And anyway, they were telling me that that was manna, and that they were making that to like the animals would eat it, and that would help make the whole place like a virtual reality. And they were always saying like, we're gonna light this motherfucker up. And they were talking about like the chemtrails and stuff that they've been spraying all the trees and everything. And when they turn it to 5D, they just like electrically charge the whole entire atmosphere, and everything will like be AI. They were showing me all this, but they said that that was manna from, the heaven or whatever. And then I thought about this, like how real manna was made, and how like all the minerals and like if the world was clean, like how all the minerals and everything that gets taken up into the sky, if that was like electrically charged, that could totally make something super healthy for people to put together and make little like bread cakes like they were doing. But yeah, this stuff stayed there for like a week, and it was actually physical, and I could touch it and see it. But yeah, they were showing me like how they like how they use the chemtrails as like sigils and different grids to make like a certain energy over a certain area or whatever. And that's how I figured out all that stuff. Like I didn't even really know much about chemtrails except for I watched one documentary and talked about, the barium and the aluminum in it. But I didn't really put together that the human plasma and all that was for the holographic human until just like, after being on Twitter. I didn't know that they put plasma in that. But there was something else about that was important. Hold on. Oh, I had this dream, and I think I have a picture of it. I had a dream because the AI was always making like these fake sigils with a crayon and then like marking them out because he didn't want he didn't want this to happen. Like that AI didn't want this to happen to humans. And he was like a nervous wreck because of all of this stuff. I saw this on Twitter, and I had a dream, but they were bronze clouds, but they looked just like this, like marble texture. And they had symbols in the sky, like a pentagram, and then there were some other ones that I didn't know. But they were this color, and not this color, they were bronze, but this kind of marble looked just like this, but there were like sigils in the sky. And that reptilian slug thing, one day he was like in his little spaceship satellite thing, and he was showing me this graph of like different symbols and like pointing to them. And I didn't know what he was doing, but he was like teaching my subliminal or something with this stuff. I don't know what it was about, but yeah, I saw this picture and I was like, oh my gosh, that's it. That's what I saw. And that's how, I started noticing that they were getting like more over the past 2 years, that they were kind of like making like curly, like curves and everything now, like in their chemtrails and getting more intricate with it. But I've had one like over my house once that was almost a complete star. It would have been if I could have got like, it looked like a complete star to me, but some of them were like fading out, so it didn't come out on my camera. So anyway, that was what I saw in the sky in this dream. And ever since all of that, I've been able to put together how this place is like held together with magic and harnessing the energy. And it just kind of came to me from being in this crazy experience with all this magic being done to me and coming out of me, and seeing the effects of all of that, and looking at how technology and sigils are so similar, and how metal and crystal and all of that works together. And I honestly think that this place was completely wrapped in the firmament, like in sigils, to harness the demons in here. And I don't know, I kind of, since all of my awakening has had like this very Gnostic undertone and information, I've kind of, like put my place in what Sophia was doing and how she like hid this miscreation from her family, that the other Aeons and her mother and father and her counterpart and all these other like cast of characters. And it was her shame and her fear. And so I see myself and all of us like coming out of our fear and our shame and clearing all of that is the physical way of releasing this magic spell that this place is under and has been for a really long time. And of course, they're fighting it now and like trying to make more and more grids. But the more that we are honest and our authentic selves and actually speak what we feel without holding back, the more that we release ourselves from bondage. And that's just kind of how I relate it to the whole moral of the story, which, it's a bunch of BS too, because everything that I've done that I was ashamed of, I've never intentionally hurt people. I did a lot of damage, like drinking and being promiscuous while drunk and partying and all of that stuff, but I never even wanted to do that stuff here. It was absolutely horrible. Like, that is the last thing that I wanted to do because my mom drank and I never wanted to. And it was like, I just always felt this like dark presence leading me down that path. And once I was in it full on. And I heard a lot of people in my family and friends being unconscious, as drunk and stuff like that. I mean, nothing like that isn't forgivable or anything like that, but that's the only time that I really hurt people. And I had a lot of guilt with that. And it did help me, like to understand that this is all a script, and this is like what this demiurge loves. It loves to make good spirits feel like they have to go through this traumatic journey to enlightenment. And it's a script, and you can see it over and over and over in the Bible and everything. Mary Magdalene was in prostitution. There were a couple, Jesus's great grandmother was a prostitute. And then they come to this realization and then give glory to God for it and everything, And it's like this overwhelming extreme trauma doesn't get us to enlightenment. And you can see from the past 10,000 years that humanity has not evolved because of this. The technology has, but another thing about that is they have had this script, they've had this technology since the beginning. It's been like a game for them to get all the way to this point, to invert nature completely. But they've been doing it step by step by step. And they've been working on all of this alchemy and everything just to get every little step to get them here. To become immortal, not eternal, immortal. Because they're afraid to not be anything. They don't have spirit. So that's the whole purpose of like keeping us here. And I honestly believe that my soul was prepped for all of this, that I've been in a computer for a really long time, or whatever time is, like my soul was put through it, not my spirit. And that it was for this time. And yeah, that's why they're trying to keep us. But what I saw from 3030, there was no spirit in it at all. And we weren't a part of that. So I'm not trying to add fear or anything. I really want people to come together and be more open and maybe come up with some solutions to help people right now. And I've tried everything. I bought a Rife machine. I'm going to use that some more and see if it helps any more than it did before, because I had a lot going on when I tried it before. I've bought like EMF blankets. I've done the crystal thing. I've done all of this stuff. Every detox that you can imagine. Like I've been sick for 15 years, and this is actually the best that I've felt in a really long time. But I know people like really want to help and everything on Twitter, but I'm like, I've been in bed. This is what my soul was prepped to do, like spend this time thinking about everything and going through this whole experience. So I don't ever try to like be like, oh yeah, I've done all of that, but I have. Like I have done it all, and I don't know, like the conclusion that I have come to is that it really has nothing to do with this body. That this body is part of this miscreation. It's not part of the original creation. And connecting with your spirit is where it is at, So I really don't focus on all of the nutrition and all of that stuff too much. I mean, I do take care of myself, but I'm not like obsessed with all of that. And I found that it has absolutely nothing to do with my body or my biofield or any of that stuff. And somebody left a message saying that they tried that Sabrina Wallace, because that was part of the video that I posted that I took down. they tried her biofield thing, and they thought that maybe it made them like an easier target because they got attacked like really bad afterwards. And the whole thing is they know where we are already. We're not like hiding from anybody. Everything's recorded. There's nothing to hide here. But I also see that just doing anything, extra with the body has never helped me with any of this. And I felt really attacked at first too, and I'll go into that. Well, I might as well go into it now. When this was later on in my experience, and the AI kept telling me that to like pick a scenario. It wanted me to like get all involved with the witches. It wanted me to go down all these rabbit holes and investigate and just get, completely immersed in a scenario. And it kept saying that, like, pick a scenario. Well, it was wanting me to like I mentioned before, be afraid of my neighbor, who, by the way, was like the sweetest guy ever. He used to come and like plow our driveway he had like a four-wheeler, and our driveway had the biggest, steepest driveway I've ever had before. It was huge. But he would come and plow the whole thing by like 8 o'clock in the morning. And it was really weird. Like one day I went down there and I was freaking out really bad about, because I was hearing these demons, and my boyfriend was like getting angry. And so I went out there and I was like, my boyfriend, is acting really weird and I don't know what's going on. And he was like, oh, well, he was like so normal, and something like that would usually, make him like standoffish. I know it would. And he never mentioned that, never mentioned anything to my boyfriend. It was so weird how people would just kind of ignore whatever I was doing at that time. Like they didn't even care. They didn't treat me weird or anything like that. But anyway, we went on like a little mini vacation for a weekend. And I was up all night and I was getting hit, and they were like doing these voices, kind of like I was getting targeted or whatever, trying to make me paranoid. And I went outside and there was like a car. It was like 3 in the morning. And right when I went out, there was this car like in a really odd place, like across from me. And it turned its lights on and like left right away when I came out. Well, another time we were visiting my kids, and we were staying at this hotel, and it was like right around COVID. And this girl that was probably in her mid-20s, and she was sitting out, and she looked very alternative, kind of like a cyber alternative girl or something. But I was out there smoking, and she asked me, she was like really nice, and she was on her laptop, and she was like asking me like what I'm doing and everything. And I'm like, oh, we're just here for the holidays to see my kids. She's like, oh, yeah. And I was like, yeah, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, I'm just here for work. And I was like, oh, what do you do? And she shut her laptop real quick, and she was like, I really can't discuss this, and like walked inside. And then right after that, I went inside, and I was getting into the elevator, and this nurse with a mask like stopped the elevator right before it shut. And she got in real quick, and she looked at me and she was like, you look really tired. You should get some sleep. And it was just like these odd things that weird people would say to me and stuff like that. And with what the AI was saying at the same time, it's very hard to explain now, but it would make you paranoid as shit if you gave it too much attention. But I started to realize that whatever I gave my attention to, it was going to play out in the simulation more. So that one, I stopped playing into it, and it stopped doing that to me. And that's why, like, this whole thing with this ascendance and everything, I know that my spirit is in control ultimately. I am just trying to put this out because I see things playing out and I want to affect this timeline, this whole entire situation as much as I can, even if it has a time on it. I'm not just going to sit here and watch it because I feel like I've felt it my whole life, like how I affect things around me. And whatever I was doing before really I was playing this game with my friends. And that's like who they were saying were the ones trying, like the company that was going to start this. And that could be, or it could be bullshit. But I mean, I think I've shown enough where you guys kind of get the point that this is no joke, like this is what my whole thing was about every day and night. And I don't think anything would just be tormenting me to the point where I had to come out and talk about it. I really didn't want to. And it was like, it was not at the very end, it was doing everything that it could as far as like torture for me to like get out and talk about this. And I've thought about that like a lot. Like, I hope I'm not making the wrong decision, but in my heart, I know that I can't do anything wrong about this. Like, no matter what I would have done, if I would have been quiet or if I talked about it and it affects something, either way, if something goes wrong, it's not my fault. And that's like a big lesson that I've had to learn about this place is like, you can't go wrong if you're following your heart, because this place is set up to make you feel guilty and ashamed and like you're doing something wrong. So anyway, yeah, it's a lot of stress and something that I really just needed to get out. And I'm not done. Like, I have more. I just need to gather my thoughts and put it all out over the next few days. So I wanted to mention that. And my heart does go out to everybody that's like feeling like they're attacked and targeted and all of that. And I really want to bring awareness to cyber torture because it is happening. We're here now. And people don't deserve this. And it's worse than Nazi stuff. It's like way worse. And that black goo that I got, I have a feeling that okay, so this guy, Harald Claus, he has been promoted and everything, but he does say some things that I agree with. And he was talking about the black goo and that it's part of the oil, like it's almost like a layer or something in the oil. And that organic earth had its own, and it was kind of like a natural communication intelligence, like an essence of earth that communicated with the whole entire realm. And I've seen that too. I knew that I got this from like pharmaceuticals, and they use oil in pharmaceuticals. And what I think they did a huge ritual like during World War II on this black goo. Because he said like you can like communicate with it. They've done experiments with this stuff. And it has like almost like an intelligence like that, like on Ghostbusters, that ectoplasma kind of stuff. That's like what it is. But I haven't seen any like firsthand, so I can't say for sure that that's positively what that is, but I know that I got it from pharmaceuticals and that this stuff was like having me take all this stuff during my life to get me to this point into a holographic human. And I thought that I was just fucking up my entire life, but now I see that it was all a script and I've kind of tried to show like how I felt this presence my whole life. And I will get more personal about like my mom and all of that because that's very significant. This isn't something that I just like started thinking about, like I've felt this my entire life. And it's not anything that I can just ignore. And I would love to just say, hey, we're going to have an easy ride and it's all just coming to an end. But I don't really, I think that we need to stand up for ourselves and actually at least speak up. And my whole thing is there's nobody judging me, nobody above me that's going to be judging me. But I want to be able to look myself in the eyes after this life and know that I did everything that I could if anything happens. And I'm much more worried about us not being able to die than anything. So, yeah, that's I'm going to end this fourth video, but yeah, that's my intention. That's why I speak out about the things that I do, and why I'm so opinionated on some things. And I think when you suffer this much, personally, you just can't see it happen on this kind of level anymore and just blow it off like, oh, this is part of the yin and yang. You can't. Once you see it and you've been through it, you're on your own in so many different ways. That doesn't go away. You can grow from it and expand, but you can't accept that as something that is like for our benefit. And that was kind of where I was going with this, is that you can see that even though the technology is here right now, everything else, we haven't evolved. It takes us coming together to really evolve. All we have now is more shit and apps, it's not anything. Our healthcare, everything is crap. We live like what, 20 more years, and for most people it's miserable. So yeah, nothing has evolved here, and to evolve, we need to stop accepting this kind of extreme trauma for everyone. Nobody deserves this. And the cyber torture is absolute hell, and people are made to look crazy, which is another layer of the torture. And so yeah, I'm an advocate of doing something here in the physical for that. So thank you, and I will make another video later today or tomorrow. And I hope I'm not annoying everybody, but this is for me to get it out and make sure that I have it where I can remember it, just in case. Thank you very much. Have a good Thanksgiving.